Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Echoes in Embracing Love. As you know, my podcast is about analyzing Dr. Charles Dean's series of Embracing Love. And he is a renowned relationship coach. And we are going to be looking at his episode of How to Be a Millionaire Lover today. It was a fun episode. He said lots of great things, lots of important things. And so we are going to get started. And as you know, I am your host, Dr. Daphne Buchanan. So I found that he said a lot of great things um, that I want to share. But first of all, let me say this. Um, I want you to make sure that you go to loveradionetwork.com and give the network any feedback about my show, about Dr. Dean's show, and especially if you want to have a consultation with Dr. Dean. And that's as far as individuals, couples, groups. Um, I think family counseling is a wonderful thing because families have difficulty with relationships too as a whole. So just give him a call if you feel like you need help. If not a call, go ahead and go to loveradionetwork.com, go down to feedback, and put in for the 30-minute free consultation, and someone will get back with you to set something up with you. I think reaching out for support is a wonderful thing. So please don't be afraid to do that. And therapy is wonderful. I have it religiously. So I am going to say, please make sure that you always take care of self. Self care is very important. And sometimes you just need to be still and be quiet. I I know. Be still and be quiet. And it will most definitely help you get through some of the tough times. So take advantage of any therapy or support that you can get, especially with relationships. So let's get this show on the road. So, how to be a millionaire lover. Okay. So, we know what it sounds like. We know what it sounds like. So, in order to become a millionaire, you have to have a plan. In order to become a millionaire, you have to know what it is you're going to do, you know. And so, in the title of this show, you've got millionaire and you have lover. So, when you think about those two things put together, it's kind of like an oxymoron. You know what I mean? Um, is there such a thing as a millionaire lover? Hmm. Let's think about that for a second. I don't know. I've never met one. Maybe I have and I don't know. But let me say this. I think everyone has the potential to be a millionaire lover, according to the things that Dr. Dean said. But we have to work on it. You have to have a plan. You have to be able to get those things in your life in accordance to what it is that you want, even as an individual, as a couple, as a group, but most of all, as a couple in a relationship. Your significant other or partner, you have to make sure that you are ready to become millionaire lovers. And so, one of the things that he said that was like, you have to really think about is when you're having struggles in your relationships, how do I make things work? How do I do that? How do I make things work in this relationship? And am I with the right person? Is this the person I'm supposed to be with? Of course, you think those things when you're having misunderstandings. Of course, you think those things when you're having upset. But when everything is good, do you have those same doubts? When everything is as it should be, do you question if the person that you're with is not the right person? Because, see, it's easy to decide that this is not who I want to be with when you're upset and you're in the moment. But we have to decide, should we be making those decisions when we're upset? Should we? So he explained that, sometimes when we have issues, we just brush over them, we don't resolve them, and it's like a wound. And if it doesn't heal properly, the scab can come right off of it again, and we'll have the same issue. And sometimes it's just a matter of being able to say, you know what? We don't want to have this issue again. Let's knock it out. Let's talk about it. What is it that upsets you? What is it that upsets me? What is it? Why does this one thing keep happening? What is it? Sometimes there's things that can't be fixed immediately because they're learned behaviors. They're learned behaviors from other relationships. They're things that people have in their personalities that they've had for years, and they just can't do away with them right away. And you have to recognize that that may be one of the things that you have to say, I love this person, and this is something I'm just going to have to get adjusted to. Now, with miscommunication, you can always ask for clarification. What do you mean by that? How can we address miscommunications other than ask for clarification? How do we address upset? How do we address someone being offended? You have to explain why you were offended, because words can't just be the trigger. What is the trigger that makes you upset? So we have to find the understanding, and then with understanding becomes resolution, because then we both can work towards making some strides in not repeating the same behaviors. So if we are, as a couple or as a group, are saying that, hey, this person in our family continuously, continuously makes jokes at everyone's expense, and they're hurtful. The conversation needs to be why they're hurtful, and the person needs to be open to understanding why they're hurtful. So, in order to understand that, it has to be a conversation, and it can't be accusatory. It can't be, this is what you do, this is what you do, this is what you do, this is what you do. But the person who is on the receiving end also has to understand that nobody is picking on them. But what they're saying is, I need you to hear me, that this upsets me. I need you to hear me when I say, I love you. But this upsets me because, and be willing to hear it. Because the growth is in being willing to hear it. If you're not willing to hear it, there'll be no growth, because you're just going to go back and you're going to do the same things. But then let me say this, some people can hear it and say, I'm going to fix it. But as soon as they feel like everybody's back to normal, they will start to do the same things again. But guess what? Rome wasn't built in a day. They're going to be backslides. But there has to be supports. There has to be like, babe, remember, we said we weren't going to do this again. So when I say this, we really have to work on each other and supporting each other and making sure everyone is adhering to the agreements that you make, because agreements are very important. Everybody has to carry their part in healing a wound. So, in healing that wound, everybody has to communicate effectively. They have to listen, and they have to be able to express their wants and needs appropriately. And the key word there is appropriately. Because if we're not expressing them appropriately, hey, we know what inappropriately does. Inappropriately, guys, can get us all in trouble, because it's not the easiest thing to do. It's not. It's not the easiest thing to do. But in a relationship where there's a man, woman, or partners, we know that the issues we think about stay in our minds. They stay in the back of our minds. And even though we might go on through our lives or put the issue behind us just a little bit, excuse me, it still stays back there because we didn't resolve it. And by not resolving it, we become a little stagnant, because now the next thing is going to tear the scab right off that wound, and we're right back where we started from. We don't mean to be, but we are. And there becomes a sense of you held on to this. And it's not even really we held on to things. Relationships, guys, they are woo-wee. Relationships are hard, because I think nobody goes into a relationship to be miserable. Nobody goes in a relationship to hold on to things. Nobody goes into a relationship to be triggered. But those things are a reality. And by them being a reality, what do we do? What do we do? And I heard somebody say recently that women always want to talk things out. That's all they want to do. They feel like if we talk it out and there's communication, then that just clears everything up. No, but for women who are emotional creatures, who are built on, I need to know. We need that. We need clarification. We need it laid out, A, B, C, and D. And because I know that men are like, I just need you to do this. So we're at loggerheads then. We're at loggerheads. We're ready to battle, because the man feels like he said, hey, I've told you. We've been over this 1,000 times. But the woman's saying, hey, but no, you haven't given me the answers I need. You haven't given me the answers I need in this issue. When the man feels like, or the other partner feels like, yes, I have. You're just not listening. And that's when it becomes we're talking at each other. We're talking at each other. We're not listening to hear, we're listening to respond. We're listening to respond because everybody's hackles are raised and nobody wants to accept responsibility for the hackles being raised. And sometimes hackles are raised when you don't even know it. You feel like you're being open. You feel like, hey, I just need you to give me answers. That's it. I don't know why this is happening. And they just want answers. The answers are not always the ones you want, but sometimes you just have to take the answer that's given because guess what? Your partner doesn't know the answer because they're learned behaviors. Learned behaviors cannot be broken in a day, in a year, in 2 years. And I say that because someone who's been in a relationship for 10, 15, 20 years or more, I don't want to say that those behaviors are ingrained at that point, but they're a part of who that person is. And all we can do is make that person aware of them. But if they're not open to being aware of them, you either have to decide to love that person for who they are, or you got tough decisions to make. You have to decide whether you can live with it. Can you live with it? And sometimes in loving someone for who they are, you decide that you can live with it. Sometimes that relationship lasts and sometimes it doesn't. Because we do go into relationships knowing how people are. We do. And the wear and tear on the relationship, if you're not working on it, if you're not actively working on whatever that is, oh my God, we're working on it, we're working on it. But I'm feeling lost. I'm feeling alone. I'm feeling like, oh my God, what is happening here? So you have to know that all of these things go into your relationship, however that relationship grows. So, yes, we love, and sometimes love takes precedent in how you feel because you love someone so much that these things feel minuscule. They feel small in the real sense of things. They feel small. So, I completely understand when people say, you know what, I'm just going to let this go. In the real scheme of things, it's not important. It's part of who he is. I love him. I love her. And we're just going to go with it. We're going to go with it. And so Dr. Dean talks about, how people get into relationships and they get to a point of where they're saying, hey, I don't want to deal with any BS. I don't. I don't want I don't want any drama. I just want a relationship that's smooth sailing. That's unrealistic. There is no relationship that's going to be smooth. Not even a mother and child relationship is smooth. Not even, you know, a sibling relationship is smooth. So let's just put that outside. Let's just put that outside. No, nobody can say that any relationship is smooth. There's not one. There's not a relationship in this world that does not have challenges. And I think that when we talk about challenges, we have to be realistic in what those challenges may be. Because every relationship has a point where someone says, do I stay right here or do I distance myself? And that's every relationship, even a mother and child relationship, even a father and child relationship. Because if a relationship becomes so toxic, it is something that I run away from. And Dr. Dean talked about the stay single and breakup syndrome. Because if people have become so used to being alone, because I, for one, can talk about, I, after I divorced, I dated someone and actually lived with someone for a short while. And that was totally because I felt like after being married for so long, you kind of want something different. You want to feel something different, and you do. You do. You want to feel, as women, you've been with one person so long. Guys, when I say so long, I mean my whole life. My whole life, I felt like I was with one person. Um, 23 years of marriage, and that was just it. And I think I felt like in the moment, I don't know, you just go with the flow of it. And I was just like, you know what, I'm done. I Marriage will never see me again. Bye. I'm done with it. I was like, not her, not she. I'm not doing it, you know and so I was like, I'll have a relationship where I can see somebody and send them back to their house, send them to the house. Not cooking, not cleaning. I'm not doing any of that stuff for anybody. They can find somebody to do that. It won't be me. It will not be me. And so for a long time, I felt that way. I felt that way. I didn't want anybody in my life in that capacity. I wanted to date. I wanted to have somebody who was just for me, and I wanted them to go to their house and stay there. I didn't want them coming to my house. I didn't want that type of relationship. But then as the years went on, I wanted somebody to spend the holidays with, to make memories with. But I still didn't want somebody to be here all the time. It still changed for me. I didn't want them around me all the time. I still didn't want marriage. I still wanted them to go home, but I wanted more companionship as things changed. And so, and then as more time went by, I was like, God, I think I do want somebody in my life. You know, I don't know if marriage is on the table, but I do want someone. So as we go through time, things change. They definitely change. And so we really have to make sure that we're ready for what we're asking for. You know, you have to be ready for what you're asking for. And so Dr. Dean said that being a lover is not just about sexuality and how you and your partner connect. It's not just about that. It's just not about what you do in the bedroom, you know. Um, it's about all the things that brought you to the relationship to begin with. Um, and in that mindset of when you want to become a millionaire, you know, you make a plan. How am I going to become a millionaire? What business am I going to do? What am I going to do to invest in this business? What am I going to do to build this business up? And he said to become a millionaire lover, you got to go at it the same way. You know, you have to look at it the same way. And um, men think about, I gave it to her. I put her to sleep. And women like, I gave him something he never had, and he gonna think about me all day. All of those things, they give us a connectedness. So, I mean, I can honestly say when I'm connected to my man, I'm feeling like on cloud nine for days. He's in my mind. He's like, it keeps you connected. And that is why you need that healthy bedroom relationship. You need it. It's a must because if you don't have it, everything else crumbles. I don't care how much other things happen and everything else goes on, but if you don't have that, and I'm gonna tell you the mindset of a woman is if you're not getting it from me, you're getting it from somebody else. Because if you're not giving me any, and I'm giving you the signals, or I'm verbally telling you I need you as a woman, I need you, and you're not meeting that expectation, and you're making me feel like, oh, but you're not meeting that expectation. That's a choice. And so then it becomes why. Okay. So if you lose your bedroom communication, if you lose your bedroom connection, that is going to tear your relationship apart on both sides. On both sides. On both sides. And I think sometimes um, men feel like women don't want it as much as men do. But let me tell you, honey, sometimes women want it just as much, if not more. And that is where the problem lies. Sometimes women feel like they can't express that because if they express that, we're seen in a certain way. There's a level of, um, and then you don't know the experiences that women have had in the past that make them hesitant to express that. Because I'm gonna give you just a little bit of honesty right here. I've had somebody tell me I'm not gonna kill him. You're not gonna kill me. You just not. You're not getting ready to kill me. And I'm just gonna say he was younger. So when I say that, it makes you hesitant to want to put your freak flag out. Because I definitely have a freak flag. I definitely have a freak flag. Okay? And I can't wave my freak flag because I'm hesitant. So when we talk about the expectation, you know, when we talk about the expectation of men and women and the bedroom and how we're going to present that, I'm talking totally from a woman's perspective right now. But then you have women who have very low libidos and they struggle to meet the man's expectation. So, in struggling to meet the man's expectation, we have to be creative, you know? And again, that is a meeting of the minds, that is a conversation. So, as someone who wants to be honest and wants to be available to her man without coming across as what? How do you meet a new man and you don't want to come across as the end all to be all, and you got just to learn my freak flag. You got to learn it. Just got to learn it. You just have to, because that's something you learn along the way as you get to know someone. I just can't come out the box and say, hey, I'm undercover. You just don't know, because when you get to know someone, you have those conversations, right? So sometimes as you get to know each other, if you don't wait a significant time, because I've had relationships where the intimate side of the relationship has started early, but then I've had a relationship where the intimate side did not come for months. And I have to say, the anticipation of the intimacy, I think that was the better relationship because you have the time to anticipate what's coming. It wasn't easy because that wasn't something I was used to. It wasn't something that I was prepared to happen. So when I say to you, having both sides of the spectrum, you know, I've been with people whose libidos are not as prevalent as mine, but then how do we come to a happy medium where, you know, the relationship doesn't suffer because of it? How, you know, how their needs, there's wants, there's needs, and there's desires. How do we get to a place that the relationship doesn't suffer? I want to be have intimacy without the bedroom part. I'm a very touchy, feely, want to cuddle, want to Netflix and just snuggle up. And I like holding hands. I love kisses. I love just being affectionate. That's just who I am. I'm a touchy person. I can be talking to someone and I'll touch them. But my person, oh, I might rub their face. I might rub their hand. I might kiss their hand. I mean, there's 1,000 things. But what if my significant other is not touchy feely? What if they're not the same as me? Is that a non negotiable? No, it's not. Because I probably have enough affection in me for both of us. You know what I mean? But if they're not receptive to it, if they're not in a place of, if they're not warm and fuzzy, is that a deal breaker? No. But also, there has to be a welcoming of it. You know what I mean? So if you're with a person who is not accepting of what you're willing to give, is is that something you can live with? Because that's really something you have to think about. If they're not open to the way you love them, that's something to think about. Because if they're not open to the way you love them and you're not open to the way they love you, you really have to think about that. Those are things we have to think about. You can't like it sometimes. You can't like it sometimes. It can't be sometimes. It has to be something that you're willing to live with. It's something you have to be willing to live with in a relationship. It has to be something you're willing to live with all the time. Because if you're not, why are we doing it? You know? Like I said, it has to be things you're willing to live with. Now, you're excited about being with him or her, but the other person is not emotionally invested. Someone can love you and not be emotionally invested. again, we are emotional creatures as women. And so we have to determine if we can be with someone who is not emotionally invested. Because I can speak from experience, being with someone who's not emotionally invested can hurt your soul. Because they don't take your concerns as concerns. They don't feel that the things that matter to you should matter to them. So if you have to be willing to gamble that they're willing to grow. So how do we assess that? How do we determine that this person that we have come to love, we're in love with, is going to be emotionally connected to us and not just in bed? How are they going to become emotionally connected to us? Because we don't know. We don't know if this part of them is going to grow to be emotionally connected to us. So, thinking about how men and women relate. When a man can be with you and leave you and put you on a shelf and leave you sitting there and then come back to you, take you off the shelf, be with you, walk out the door, put you on a shelf, not worry about you, come back, take you off the shelf, be with you, put you on the shelf, leave, come back, take you off the shelf. That is an emotional segue to battling insecurity. And it's not because you're insecure in what you have as a woman, but it gives you the insecurity of not knowing whether he is going to be to you what he said he's going to be. The strongest woman, the most confident woman in the world, can walk and talk and do her thing, but a man can make you question everything about who you are as a woman. Not as a career minded woman, not as a mother, but as a woman. Can tear every piece of confidence that you have in yourself as a woman because you don't know what's going on with them, because you're not emotionally connecting. And I think it's simply because men don't understand that. Just like there's some women who's not warm and fuzzy. I think there's some men who go through the exact same thing that women go through. Because there's some women who are not warm and fuzzy. And I'm like, when I see some women who are like that, I'm like, did somebody not hug them when they were children? Did they not? Because I don't really understand women who aren't maternal. I don't understand women who don't have that. But there's reasons why they don't have it. It has nothing to do with them never receiving a hug. It has nothing to do with things that we think about, like, why do they not do these things? It's called experience. And you don't know the path that someone else has walked. And that's letting other people live. Now, this man that could be in somebody's life that is emotionally disconnected, that is says he loves you or says he wants to be all these things to you, but his actions say something different, and you've asked him, okay, I don't understand, what's happening. This is how you were when we met, but now it's like, what's happening? You have to, if it's worth it to you, you can fight for it. If it's worth it to you, you can fight for it. If it's worth it to him, he'll fight for it. But in the fighting for it, there's one of two things you're going to learn. One, he's going to fight for you just as much as you're going to fight for him because the effort is there. Or two, he's not going to fight. It's always going to be an excuse, and he'll easily walk away. So you have to decide whether that's what you want to live with in your life. Because, before I did this segment, I had to really I talked to a friend because I really wanted to understand. I really wanted to understand how men are able to just walk away. How are you able to walk away when you say you love someone? When you say you love someone and you're having, you know, issues, how are you able to walk away and say, hey, I'll see you when I see you? Because a lot of men do that. And I asked him, I said, how are you able to do that? And he said, because I'm not that invested. He said, the truth of the matter is, if I can walk away from you and say, I'll see you when I see you, I don't want to see you, I don't want to talk to you, that means I'm not that invested. And I think I was like, what do you mean? When you say you're not that invested? He said, because if I was invested, I might have to take a cooling off period, but it wouldn't be for a day. It wouldn't be for 2 hours. It wouldn't be for 5 hours. It would be long enough for me to breathe, and then I'd be able to come back and I'd be able to talk to you. Because if it takes more than an hour for anybody to come to clarity that I love this woman, I don't want to lose her, I would be able to come back and I would be able to talk to her. So that is where that emotional connection comes in. And understanding that he's not sharing with you and that he's not really investing in you, he has to understand that. And Dr. Dean said, as this couple, both people have to understand that you have to be willing to share. You have to invest in each other. And understanding is liking who you are. They have to like you for who you are. And understanding your crazies. That that is the thing. Your significant other has to understand your crazies and like your crazy. I'm accepting every bit of you for who you are. And when I was talking to my friend, he was like, and all of that is right. They accepting everything about you, but to walk away from you for a day for a moment and say, don't call me, don't text me, I don't want to hear from you, I don't want to talk to you, any of those things, no, he's not really invested. He's not really a part of that, you know? And I'm like, okay, so as we enter relationships and don't share everything, and we expect the other one to know what is happening with each other. So in that, no, because we can't expect that. That is where the discussions come in at. We have to be able to say to each other, baby, I'm going through this and I really need you to help me with this. Or, baby, I see you doing this and I just need to understand it. I need to understand it so that I don't feel the way I'm feeling. I'm sorry, y'all. This is what happens when you lose a little bit of weight. Your clothes don't want to stay on you. But yeah, learning to understand each other is very important. It's very important. So the triggers that push you to distance yourself from your person, those are it. Those are the triggers that push you away. And we don't want the emotional detachment. We don't want the wounds that pull the scabs off. All of those things we've got to be willing to deal with. We've got to be willing to talk about. So if we're not willing to talk about those things and we're not willing to just be and explain, and what is it? Because unfortunately, it takes talking. And when one of us is not willing to talk, and when I say one of us, when I talked to my friend, he said he's not willing to talk. He said, he like whatever. That's what he said. He like whatever. He said if he's just dating someone and she feels like they're more than what they are, he said he's not willing to talk. He's not willing to discuss anything because it's not that deep for him. He said it's not that deep for him. He said, but with someone that's important to him, he's gonna take the time. He's not gonna let any dust settle under his feet. He is going to talk. He's going to do whatever he needs to do to make sure the woman this that he wants understands everything she needs to understand. But someone that is not important to him, he could care less. That's hurtful. That's hurtful, and it was sad to me when he said it. It was sad to me when he said it because I've been in a position before of like dating someone and wanted to really say to him like, what's happening? And he like nothing. You know, he and I can say, what's wrong? And oh, nothing's wrong. But I can clearly see that something is wrong and there's no response. So does that mean that all that time I spent, he was not really that interested in the first place? Because it makes me sad. And it makes me sad for the lady that he was talking about. That this goes back to the big heart I have. Because guys, I'll tell you, I cry over music videos. I cry over everything. So if you see me tear up just a little bit, this is passion for me. This is this discussing relationships and sharing. It really it's a passion for me because it's a form of teaching. So it's a passion. And when I say we have to be able to determine what's good for us, what's not good for us, what's going to make us not be our best all the time, we have to really be able to understand that. So, all of that was just at the beginning of how to be a millionaire lover. This was the setup. This was just the setup of the show, How to Be a Millionaire Lover. Because then he gets into something that I was like, it really confused me. I was like, what? No, 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 no. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. He said, when you get married, you just don't get married for love. I would say, wait a minute. That's wrong. Yes. Yes, you do. Yes, you do, sir. You do get married for love. You do get married for love. That was my response to that, what he said. I'm in the room like, that's not right. No, 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 no. No, yes, you do. Yes, you do. But guess what? You're going to have to wait till the next episode of Echoes and Embracing Love to find out what my thoughts are. I thank you all for being with me for another episode. I am Dr. Daphne Buchanan, and I look forward to talking to you the next time. Have a great night.